Hey homies, welcome back to Something New Saturday. The Saturday where I get to show you something new. So today we're going to use the smaller stencils. These are the stencils that Tim Holtz just very recently released. And for once, I'm not way behind the curve. Yay. So I bought the 3-pack, I got them open, of the smaller ones. But I did not buy the larger hexagon one just because I wasn't interested in that. So I have these the 3 smaller of all 3 of the prints. We're going to use this one and maybe this one, but it's for sure this one. So let's get started. Now the first thing I want to do is kind of skip some gesso all over this tag. I don't want to cover the entire tag because I do want to keep some of that manila color, but just kind of a little bit here and there. So I need to just kind of go over the tag. And kind of add a little texture before I even start. Okay, I'm gonna go get this dry and clean up my mess, and then we'll move on to the stenciling. I think before I move on to stenciling, I wanna add a little more background on here. So I've got some old book paper. This is from Alice in Wonderland, actually. And I think I'm gonna add it up here in this corner. I'm just using inexpensive matte medium to put it down. And I'm gonna let it go off the edge, and then when it's dry, I'll trim it. I'll put a piece over here. I'm going to do some on this edge right over here. And you're not going to be able to read this when I'm done, at least highly unlikely you will. So it's just going to be a little more background noise, right? And this piece actually has no print on it. It's just from the edge. But I'm going to use it because I like it. All right, that's what we've got so far. Alrighty, so this is completely dry, relatively flat. Now I want to take the smaller brushstroke stencil and some watercolor and just put some random spots of color here. pull this off. So see, we've got a little bleeding of the colors, which I knew was going to happen. I'm going to blot. And then look at that. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm going to splatter. Let's do a little undersea green. A little more water. This isn't really a good brush for this, but I'm feeling lazy and I don't feel like getting another brush. And then let's do a little ultramarine turquoise because, oh, such a pretty color. And I'm going to add a little turquoise up here, just kind of random. And then I'm going to blot. Excuse me. I seem to have a frog in my throat. So to use the stencil, you know, you can really make it look like brush strokes, or you can use things that are pretty wet and let it kind of bleed out. And I like that. It just gives me blobs of color, which sometimes a blob of color is really all I want. So that makes me happy. I think I'm going to add a little of this orange too, because it seems like it's going really well with the turquoise. So let's add a little bit of this in here. Try and splatter a little with this terrible brush. And then I'm going to blot. All right, now I'm going to go dry this with the heat tool and then come back in with the stencil. I'll be back. Okay, we're dry. Now I've got this stencil. Now I'm going to put liquid pearls through this stencil. I'm going to squirt some out into this little bowl. This is actually from Sam's wet food. Excuse me, goodness. And I recycle them. I wash them and then use them for paint and stuff. So at least they get a couple of uses before they actually go in the garbage. Now I'm not going to line this up exactly. I want some randomness to this. I'm just going to go in with this liquid pearls and put it right through the stencil. If I had some Simon Hurley lure paste, I would use that for this, but didn't have any. Lift this up and move it. And it was very heavy-handed, and I got it to squish under the stencil, but I wanted that because I want it to be extra messy. And I'm going to go in when this is dry with clear translucent stencil paste. So I want this layer to be kind of messy, and then my stencil paste layer will be fancy. All right, now we got that spot there. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry and then come in with the translucent texture paste. Alrighty, so this is dry. Look how pretty. Now I'm gonna do some clear texture paste over this. Translucent, I guess is the right word. And I'm going to mix some glitter into some also. I'll put a little tape on the back of this to hold the stencil where I want it. There we go. First, let's do some plain old clear. Translucent, sorry. Words are hard. Okay. And we're just going to put this right over what's already there. Random. Not filling the whole thing in. Now this is going to end up being a mermaid tag. I'm going to send it to a friend that moved to Florida just within the last couple of years. She's not close to me, so I haven't seen her, but we chat once in a while, and I thought, you know, she's a mermaid nut, and these waves are very mermaidish, so let's make her a mermaid tag. And she's crafty too. All right, so we've got just this clear. We're going to let this dry and then come back and mix some glitter into some translucent texture paste and add some more. Okay, so we're not completely dry, but dry enough to move on. We've got a little container and some texture paste. I'm going to put some in this container. Now I've got some distressed glitter. Had this a while. This is tumbled glass. I'm gonna put a little bit of tumbled glass, or a lot of tumbled glass. And a little clear rock candy into this texture paste and mix it up. And I'm just got to stick here, mix it up. We'll make some glitter texture paste to use through our stencil. And make sure it's really mixed up in there. Some tape here. Put this stencil on more towards the top this time. We'll get our palette knife. And get some of this lovely glittered texture paste. Alrighty, let's lift this off. Oh. Then I'm going to go over here, add some more towards the bottom. Oof, that's going to be pretty when it dries. All right, so we'll let this dry and then we'll move on. I have a little left over, so I'm probably going to grab another tag or something and add it to it. I don't want to throw it away. Alrighty, I've got all my pieces cut. I've got 2 mermaids, 3 seaweeds, and 3 starfish, And then I also decided to do one clam shell and put a little pearl in it. All right, let's give everybody a little color. I think for my starfish, I'm first going to use a little buff titanium. And then go in with a little bit of this geothite, which is a brown. Let that dry. Let's see what that looks like. And for the seaweed, I'm first going to do a coat of yellow. This is Hansa Yellow Light. Just very messy. I'm not worried about if I get all of it. And then I'm going to go in with the Ultramarine Turquoise. And then a little Undersea Green. Undersea Green's going to darken it up a little bit. That's going to be really pretty when it dries. And then for my mermaids, let's see. Let's use a little buff titanium. Kind of on their body and their faces. It's actually got a little green mixed in it because I didn't clean my brush out very well. But that might actually work in my favor. And then for the tails, let's do one with their turquoise. And then one with the orange. Let's do the Undersea Green for their hair. And then my little shell, I think I'm going to do that orange too. All right, and we'll let all this dry and then come back and add a little more color. All right, let's give our girls a little more color. We go back into the skin with the buff titanium again. I think they are so pretty. Oh. Add a little more orange here. There we go. And then we're going to go in with some more turquoise on her. A little more undersea green in the hair. I'm going to darken that hair up a little. And then we'll go back into the shell, give it a little more color. I love that these dies have the detail in them, so the paint kind of falls into some of that and really makes them look very nice. And I think on the front part of the shell, I'm going to add a little bit of the geothite, Kind of give it a little extra oomph on the front. There we go. And my little starfish. Oh, let's add a little extra color to them. And throw all the colors at them. All right, I'm gonna let all this dry and then we'll see how we're gonna arrange it on the tag. I'm gonna take this tag and splatter some gold watercolor on it. And we're just gonna splatter it all around. Just use a fan brush. There we go. I want a lot. We'll blot it very gently, just a little. We'll let this dry. Now, how are we going to arrange all of this here? So we've got two mermaids. We've got some seaweed. We've got our little clamshell and some starfish. I think the mermaids are pretty much going to go on like this, so I'm going to go ahead and glue them down. I'm going to use bear glue for this. And I'm not going to like completely like get the ends of the fins and the ends of their hair and stuff so that they're kind of, you know, kind of free floating a little bit. I'm going to do their hands because they will tear because they're very delicate. But like the hair and the ends of their fins, I don't think I'm going to put completely down. So let's hold those hands down for a second, make sure they really grab. Now let's take this. These mermaids turned out lovely. And I think I'm going to die cut some extras and send them along with the tag. So maybe Lisa can make something with them. Glue on that hand. There we go. There we go. And see, I put the one with the orange tail over that turquoise, and man, that looks pretty. Okay, so my seaweed, let's put one there. You know what, I'm going to put one of the starfish behind this seaweed here. And then this one, I will put it down lower and cut it off. And then this one, so we've got 3 seaweeds going across the bottom. Now we've got a few starfish left. I'm going to add those in. And I've got my clamshell. Where do I want to put that? Right there. I want it where the seaweed is. Because I really like that orange with those greens. It's just a nice combination. Slather this with bear glue. Glue it down. And I've got one little starfish left. him right there. Look at that. That is turning out so pretty. Now I've got some stickles here. This is called garden stone. I'm going to add a little bit of this into their hair. Maybe a little bit of the leftover down here on the seaweed. I pulled out some Tim Holtz word stickers, and I thought about everything has beauty, have an open heart. Have an open heart might be a nice sentiment for on here. Yep, I think I'm going to use have an open heart. Put it right about there. And I'm going to use some bear glue just to be doubly sure that it's going to stay put. And I think my last step is going to be just add a very little bit of bling. It's already pretty blingy with all the gold, I realize, but I'm going to add a little bit. These are the Trinity Stamps melted icicle confetti pieces, and I thought they might make good bubbles. So we can dot some of these around. And you know, they're clear, so they're not going to be all up in your face. But you know, when the light catches this a certain way, you're going to see them. And I thought that would be a nice little touch. Might need a little more glue right there. Okay, I'm going to let all of this dry, probably overnight, and then come back and put some trims up here, and this tag will be done. I'll see you dry. I've got some ribbons and trims and some shell charms to add to the hole in the top of the tag. And I also dug this little clothespin, safety pin, clippy thing out of my Tim Holtz stash. So I've got some kind of natural, some very sparkly aqua, and then some twines. I'm just going to layer these all together. And I'm going to loop one end through the hole, and then I'm going to staple it with the tiny attacher instead of trying to tie all this because I'm not so good at that. And then I'm going to staple this. With kind of an X. There we go. And then let's see. I'm going to use this gold shell. So I have my pliers. Put the loop back in on my shell. Actually, let's pin this on first. Let's see. That pinned in there, and then I'm going to hang this shell off of the pin. I tie a couple of knots in this twine, just kind of mess it up a little bit. And get all of this trimmed down. Alrighty, I think we're done. Here's my finished project for Something New Saturday. We made a tag, very heavily layered, sparkly mermaid tag. Our something new was these two Tim Holtz stencils. I have the large and the small, and the smalls are obviously tag size, so they're perfect. So we used this one with some watercolor, and you can hardly even see that now, but it does affect the background. And then we used this one with liquid pearls and translucent texture paste. And don't forget, I had leftover texture paste that I made by adding distress glitter. So I used it on this watercolor paper so I can use it on another tag, a card, I can die cut it, whatever. We've got lots of layers on this tag. Old book paper, gesso, watercolor through the brush stroke stencil, a few different layers of the wavy stencil with all the different mediums. And then our mermaids are Spellbinders dies that came in the 2022 July card kit. I think this tag turned out so cool. I'm really happy with it. I'm going to send it off to my mermaid loving friend. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Get those stencils out and play with them, right? We buy them, we should play with them. And I'm a stencil junkie. I've amassed quite a collection. Y'all have a lovely day. Remember, be excellent to each other and go make something. Bye-bye.